Hey everybody, come on in, welcome, happy Tuesday you guys, good to see you. Welcome to another episode of Let's Stay Together. I have an awesome guest here with me today. I am so excited to have on Dominic Sherwood today. He's awesome. Hey everyone, let me see if he is in the chat. All right, grabbing him right now, hang tight. Hey Andy, hey guys.
Hey Tommy, how are you?
Hey Dom, I'm good, how are you?
I'm very well, yeah, thank you very much. Let me see
get the angle all right, and make sure I'm all good. Thank you for coming on the show, man.
Oh, thank you for having me. How are you? Where are you? Where are you?
I am based in Manhattan.
Manhattan, lovely.
Yes.
Are you good? Are you happy, safe, healthy?
We're all good. We went through some scary times for a few months here, but we're seeing a light at the end of the tunnel, which is great. What about you? You're in LA?
Good, yes, I'm in LA, yeah.
Okay.
Scary times still abound here, but all just trying to stay home and stay, like I say, happy and healthy and safe.
Yeah, man, I have to have hope that we're going to get through this if we all just kind of do what we have to do, right?
Exactly, yeah. You know, fingers crossed if we keep taking the right precautions and the right measures, then we can... Oh! It's not a great start.
It's all right. Live TV in 2020. We do what we have to do.
Like a makeshift rig to try and get this angle right, but it's not feeling it.
There we go. It's looking good.
It's better.
Well, thank you again, man. I started this show in March, kind of when COVID began, because I wanted people to come on every week and hear from people they admire for some joy and inspiration and hope. And you are somebody who inspires many. So thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you for doing this show and spreading joy and love and hope. That's great.
Of course, man. And guys, I see you're super excited to be chatting with Dominic today. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section, and I will ask a few as the interview progresses. So I'll keep my eye on them. And if you're ready, man, I have a lot to get to.
Let's dive in. Let's go. I'm ready. I'm gonna
cool.
retry this my little makeshift rig here. There we go. That seems so far. That seems to be holding.
That looks good.
It's physics is what it is.
Yeah, we're all trying to figure it out. So, Dom, I'm going to take it back for a minute. I'm going to bring you back. And I would love to know, do you remember the moment when you were like, all right, acting is 100% what I'm meant to do? And what attracted you to wanting to become an actor?
It's just an attention seeker. I'm a massive attention seeker. That's probably like being the center of attention. Honestly, there probably is some truth to that. Like I always was like the loud, like brash kid. I think one of my teachers once, like on my school report, said the best analogy for Dom is that if everyone was sat at their table, Dom would be standing on it. I don't remember if that was a literal thing that I did or if that was just a metaphor for how I behaved. But I was very young when I knew I wanted to be an actor. It was before school. It was before anything really, like 5, 6 years old. I knew that performing was my future and what I wanted to do, and I just sort of pursued that with the blinders on throughout my life.
Well, many people are happy you did. You've had such a successful career from TV to movies to, of course, people are mentioning Taylor Swift's video style, yeah, which was awesome, and a dream to so many alone. But
me included, absolutely a dream for me too.
Yeah, man, you've done so much. And, you know, I think it's through playing Jace in Shadowhunters that kind of really catapulted you to this level of fandom for so many. Shadowhunters means so much to so many people. So how did that opportunity for you come up? And what was that audition process like?
So it was, I mean, interestingly, sort of this catapulting theory, like each sort of step, like took me a little closer, you know, like, did little bits in the UK, and that got me to a slightly bigger agent, and then they got me some decent stuff. We got some stuff together, and then I did Vampire Academy through that, which sort of introduced me to the world of what a fandom could be, and then I moved on from there. And Taylor's video was another sort of little catapult, and then from there was, like you say, Shadowhunters and so on and so forth. And that audition process was one of those ones where it's like. It's not so much a thing now with streaming services and stuff, but there used to be a period of time in the year called pilot season, which is when all of the TV shows like try to get their cast locked in place for their season for the rest of the year. And it was right at the end of the pilot season, and I'd like met a few people for things, but nothing had worked out. And I remember in my head just being like, man, I need a job. Like, I really need a job. And then Shadowhunters fell in front of me, and I was like, not only is this a really cool project and a really cool character and something that I would love to be involved in, but sort of got myself in that mental place of like, I'm getting this one. Like, I need to get this one. I'm running out of money. So I'd like have no choice but to get this job. And I went and I met the guys, and it was Ed Decter, who was our original showrunner, Michael Reese, one of our writers, producers, and then the casting team. And I met them, and it's one of those, you know, you didn't hear anything for ages, and you're like, oh, well, I guess that one's gone. And then they called me back in for the test process, which I didn't really understand. So I tested with a girl who they were looking to be Clary, and that didn't work out for whatever reason. And you could kind of tell that it wasn't working, like in the room, you could kind of tell that there was something a little off. And I thought it was me. So I was like, oh, well, I don't think I'm gonna get this one, because you can kind of feel, you know, anyone with a sense of empathy can kind of sense that there's some sort of thing that's not working. And I thought that was so I remember calling my manager, Rob, afterwards and saying, oh, mate, I don't has gone my way, unfortunately. And it turned out that they fortunately for me did quite like me, and the girl wasn't quite the fit that they were looking for. You know, not that she was in any way bad or wrong for the part, it just wasn't quite exactly right, the right fit. So I got offered the part, and then I didn't know what to do, because I was like, well, there's no fairy yet. Like, what's the next step? Like, what do we do? And then I got brought in to read all the fairies. Booked it, which was great, because I'd known that for a while before. So it was, yeah, a lovely sort of rounding out to that story.
When you walked on to that set the first day of filming, did you have any sort of feeling that this was going to be something pretty big with the fans, or were you kind of like, it's a job, let's see where it goes?
You do kind of know, especially because it was based on books, and the books were so successful. And then there was the iteration of the movie beforehand as well that was quite successful as well. So this is sort of the third attempt at telling the story. So it was a combination of excitement, because I kind of felt that there was a lot of expectation around this project, and also a lot of anxiety for me, because I don't want to mess it up. You know, there's so many people, especially with book characters, and you know, I said this before, when you read a book, no matter how descriptive you are about a character, each reader has a different image of what that character looks like. So there's a way that you can please everyone, you know, the millions of people who love Jace from the books. There's just no way that because you know, no matter what I do, I'm going to look like me. So there's no way that I can match the physical depiction that different people had in their imagination of Jace. So, you know, all you can really do at that point is just trust in the writing and trust in the creative teams around you, from the actors to the producers to directors, and just hope, you know, you do your best and hope that people enjoy it. And, you know, still to this day, I hope that people did and do.
Well, I think it's a testament too to the job you guys did with being books and the movie and everything else out there. It still was a massive hit. So clearly it didn't matter what had existed in the past. It's what you guys created that resonated with so many people. People are going crazy in the comments about this show. So what is it about the series that attracted such fandom, do you think?
In my opinion, the great thing about it was the like plethora of diversity that we threw into it. Anything from you know, sexuality to relationships to working conditions to race. That, like, everything was kind of encapsulated, and we covered a lot of stories in kind of a magical, supernatural way that were actually grounded in the life of every day. So I think that was something that was really really important when telling a story like this, that, you know, no matter how fantastical and supernatural we get, everything is really based in reality. And, you know, the writers, all of the credit goes to them for that, because the choices they made within the story are all based in reality and real situations. And I think a big thing with something like this is to portray hope and happiness, no matter what your background or your creed or ethnicity or whatever it is. You know, there is, whatever the challenge is, it can be overcome sort of with unity and love and togetherness.
And I would imagine you must have a lot of great memories from that show. But does anything in particular really stand out to you when you look back at your time there?
You know, and it's such a cop out because it was the last thing we did, and it's so easy to just be like, oh, the last scene we ever shot was. So the way it worked out, completely by accident, because we knew when we went back in, we did 20 episodes in season 3, and then the show, the powers that be brought the show to an end, but we were very fortunate in that we were given 2 episodes to round out the entire show, which is it doesn't happen very often. We knew that at the end of that was going to be the end. We had the wrap party in the studio, you know, in this place that we'd all worked with each other for 4 years. It was really incredible. And the scene that we did, just completely by accident, happened to be the Magnus and Alec wedding, which not only was a very special scene for us to film, because we all, not only as actors and as cast members, but as fans ourselves of the show, we've been following this story the whole way through, with bated breath, hoping that they ended up together. Which, of course, you know, can you imagine if they ended up not doing? Like, it would be streets, terrible. But the really nice thing about that is because at the wedding we had all of the characters that we'd ever had throughout, even almost all the way back to season 1. You know, all of these people that we worked with, we were all together for this one sort of momentous moment, which was really lovely. You know, we got to all celebrate it together. And you know, I'll never forget Silic, our first AD, who, again, because this is the other thing, a lot of the crew members who've been with us since season 1 were all there as well. And Silic was our first AD all the way back since the beginning. And it was his job to say, and ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap on Shadowhunt. It was a really, like, bittersweet sort of profound moment. Not only is it over, which is really sad, but also, like, look at what we achieved. Like, look at what we did. It's a really special thing, and something that I will be proud of having been a part of for the rest of my life.
Yeah, it means so much to so many. And let me tell you, you guys put in the work. Like, the amount of emotions in one episode and the physicality of it in one episode, let alone the series. I mean, you guys hustled. You worked hard to create a beautiful show.
Yeah, you know, we did. We put our effort into it, of course. And again, you know, cool things. Sorry, my dog is right by my feet, and he wants attention. So he's like, oh. I'll be done soon, I promise. A good thing to remember with attitude on a set is it's never really laid out. I mean, it does sort of trickle down a little bit. You know, if the lead actor isn't professional or isn't, you know, the cheery person that they need to be, then that will trickle down and that'll affect everyone. But it also works its way up. You know, the crew, the attitude of the crew really does define what the attitude is on set. And we had just these, like, heroic Torontonian crew members from every and all department who worked, you know, remember that, like, hair, makeup, wardrobe is costume. I was going to say costume. So it's only been my job for 10 years. But like grips, set decks, production, directors, they all come in 2 hours before the actors and they don't leave 2 hours after us. And they don't have a plush little trailer to go to at lunchtime. You know, they grind and they work their absolute asses off. And for them to have a positive attitude at all times really does make the difference on set. So it would, you know, it's impossible for me to contemplate coming in and not putting in the same level of work that the team around me did, because they're so incredible.
Well, that's nice of you to say, because it's true. The people behind the scenes, even the shows I'm a part of, they make it happen. So we know that. We know that well. Let me get a couple fan questions in. People are so excited you're on here, Dom. One question, and guys, I'm so sorry your names go by so fast, but I got the question. It was, where would you have liked to see your character go next?
Yeah, there's a lot of speculation about what would have potentially happened, and I think over the course of doing interviews like this after the show has rounded itself out, I've kind of fine-tuned an answer. I think what would happen personally is the new sort of like group of Shadowhunters, because Alec is off with Magnus and is now the head of sort of the Shadowhunter world. He's our sort of king's the wrong word to use because Matt will take it to heart and I'll never hear the end of it, but like our leader. And I think then, because Jace by his own admission, is always a soldier. That's always what he's going to be. You know, when he got promoted to the head of the institute, he knew that that wasn't his place. That's not his piece of the puzzle, so to speak. So I think what would happen is Jace, Simon, Clary, and Isabel would be the four new sort of leads, like the alpha team of the Shadowhunters, and they would just sort of continue on, like slowly saving the world. Over the course of the show, it became very apparent very quickly that like there's always something. There's always something. So I think without a team like that, that world would crumble very quickly.
Very, very cool. And let me get in one more for right now, and that is, if you could play any other character on the show, who would you play?
Oh man, see, that's a tricky question because everyone does such a good job, and there's no way I would want to try and step into someone else's shoes and perform the way they perform, because I'd never do as good a job as them. But maybe I always jokingly say that Izzy would be the best one because she has the best costumes. But I think in reality, something like Valentine, like playing a bad guy, like with having moved on to sort of playing a quote unquote bad guy in Penny Dreadful, because he is a bad guy in Penny Dreadful, but also has little sort of weird layers to him. But I think something like Valentine would have been cool. Playing a bad guy is always good. I remember when I was in school, and I was probably about 10 or 11 years old, and I got cast in the school play as the bad guy. My acting teacher, Tom Waits, who's actually still a very close friend of the family, took me aside at that point and said, was it Tom Waits or was it Mr. Doesn't matter. You don't know who any of those people are, but they were both like starting points at me for my career because they were such inspirations. But he took me aside and he went, just always remember the bad guys get the best costumes, and then walked off. And I was like, sort of thought through it. And at the time it was like the Batman like franchise, the Tim Burton franchises through like Batman Forever and stuff. And that's what I thought of. And I was like, yeah, Two-Face's costume's really cool. I like that one. Okay, great. I'm into it now. I like that idea. Valentine. Because of the costume.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's something definitely a lot of fun about playing the villain. I had on Lana Parrilla from Once Upon a Time, and she plays the evil queen, and she plays that role flawlessly. And we were talking about how much fun it is to play, the bad guy or girl. Yeah, that's awesome. And before we move on to some other things, the last kind of question around Shadowhunters, and you mentioned this earlier, but the show touched on really important issues in this supernatural world. It made it very humanized, like race relations, like you said, sexuality. So as an actor, on this show, what did it mean to you to be part of those conversations that really, speak to so many young kids who are watching as well?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the number one thing that I learned through all kinds of facets, not least of which poor behavior on my part, which I'm sure a lot of people know what that is education is so key. We're seeing that more and more with everything that's going on currently and right now. Not knowing about something isn't necessarily ignorance. It's a chance for you to better yourself with the knowledge of a group of people or persons that you haven't had that direct experience of. There are many experiences that we covered in Shadowhunters that I didn't go through as a child. So it's a chance for you as a person to educate yourself and then be this sort of positive driving force in change. And I think that's what Shadowhunters tried to do so beautifully, is not only learn about the cultures around them, because even we even had conversations that come down to sort of the nitty gritty of like Judaism and understanding why Simon wasn't allowed to do certain things, or like understanding why a tattoo was so important to Simon, why that was such a hot point for Simon because of his grandmother in the camps who was tattooed with a number, and it has that connection. So even just these things that a lot of people would just think, look, it's just a tattoo, don't worry about it. And then you have to learn a little more about that person's story to understand why there is a grievance there. So I think that's what Shadowhunters did 4 years, and I miss saying the titular name. So I think that's what they did so well is understanding and learning and presenting informed stories that were, for the most part, for the benefit of the viewers and the world around.
Well, and Dom, I think that's something you do really well too, is you have a big platform and you use it for so much good, right? You post about things that matter, whether it's, you know, telling people that men really shouldn't be dictating the laws of a woman's body, or talking about bullying or systemic racism, or you just did a great post for Pride Month for the LGBTQ plus community. So you put out messages that matter personally, which I think inspires so many people, and not everyone does that. So why is it important for you to do that?
So it's sort of, well, first of all, like, as you say, I think having a platform like mine, which actually is sort of relatively still fairly minimal, it's, you know, a lot bigger than, you know, my friends back home who are builders and whatever. But I think when you have a platform like that, there's a real responsibility, because it's not just like, oh, look, it's really exciting, I've got X amount of followers and whatever. You, in theory, have people, you have sort of a captivated audience, and I think it's same as telling the story like Shadowhunters or any story. It's important to use that platform, in all cases, to be the betterment of society, if you can. And that, again, that's just my opinion. Maybe it's incorrect, but as many fingers and as many pies of positivity as I can, I'm going to keep doing that, because, you know, anti-bullying has always been a big one for me. He's drinking. I know, good boy. These little barks. Anti-bullying has always been a big one for me. And, you know, then Danny asked me to help out with Juntos Costa Rica, because there's stuff going on in Costa Rica. And again, it was an opportunity for me to learn and read about things in depth that I didn't know the direct information for. Then each topic is sort of more individual. You know, when it comes to pride, for example, some of my dearest friends in the world are members of the LGBTQ plus community. And it would be selfish of me to not support them in everything they do, because that's all they do for me. They support me and hold my hand and make me a better person just by my interactions with them. And not because, you know, they're gay or trans or lesbian or whatever it is. Not because of that, just because they're good people. So if I can support their cause, that, you know, separate and to our friendship, then of course I will. And a similar thing with the Black Lives Matter cause. You know, it's, again, important to raise a lot of awareness. It sort of started when I went to the first protest here and was listening to a lot of people tell these stories, these empowering, passionate stories. And then it dawned on me, like, I do have this platform, that all that gets reported on is the bad stuff. It's like the riot, stuff like that. And that was kind of the case. So that's when I started, and I went around and I asked people, you know, I've got a bit of a platform, would you mind if you told me your story and I put it on my Instagram, so people see that this, you know, this is about peace and it's about change. I said, absolutely. And, you know, I did that. It's individual, you know. I think making a difference necessarily so much about making these grand gestures as it is about when you see a need, that needs filled, you take action to fill it as much as you can. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. I really commend you for that. I think it means so much to so many people who those, you know, individual issues affects. And like you said, just putting more out there is never a bad idea. It can only help.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool that you do that. Switching gears for a minute now, I want to talk about Penny Dreadful.
Yes.
And people are loving that show. I think the season finale just aired, correct?
It aired, yes, on Sunday.
Yes.
Now, this is the because yes, of course, I would love to talk about Penny, but it, I think, airs tomorrow in the UK. So I'm going to try and spoiler free as I possibly can. I mean, there's definitely some stuff that I've already said out there on the internet, but as long as I don't spoil the ending of episode 10, I think I'm in a good stead. Okay, cool. No spoilers, but tell me about the show. You know, for everyone watching, a few people, because you mentioned Penny earlier, and I guess a few fans haven't checked it out yet. So what is the show about? Tell me about your character, and tell everyone why we cannot miss the show in quarantine. Well, you know, again, this is what's so interesting is, and this one this really hits the nail on the head with the social allegory, exactly what's happening in real life being reflected in the TV show. Very much, so it's set in 1938 Los Angeles, and the two sort of overriding stories are the racial unrest between Mexican Los Angeles and you know, white America, which was then very poignant, and obviously still now we have some real steps to make for positive action to be taken. And then the other side of the story is the influx of Nazi Germany into Los Angeles. And what the number one thing that I thought was so interesting, because of my character and where he goes in the story and what his function is in the story, was that a lot of this is based directly in real life, which I didn't know. I didn't know that the Nazis did have their sights on Los Angeles, and they wanted to take over the movie theaters, and they wanted to take over the ports, and they wanted literally to have his eagle's nest in the hills in Los Angeles, because he wanted it to be the first breaking ground for the new America, and they ideally wanted it to be New York. But as they say in the show, New York was run by the Jewish community, so that was never going to work for the Nazis, obviously. They set their sights on Los Angeles, thinking that they could spread across America, and obviously that wasn't the case. But interestingly to me, when I was doing my research, I was sort of reading it, and they sent us an amazing, like 100-page booklet of research after I'd done a lot of mine. Reading through a lot of it, and I was like, is this like concept art? Is this concept work? And it's real file footage of like Nazi sympathizers marching up and down Hollywood Boulevard. Like, and it's just so blowing that was the case, but you know, it was. And I think one of the key things that I thought was so interesting about doing this show, and why I was so excited to do it, is because politically it's so aligned with everything that's going on right now, but set 60 years in the past, and I thought that was really fascinating.
Wow. Yeah, no. And a lot of people are commenting saying they loved it. They finished the finale. They think it's a great show. And now you did this show pretty soon after you wrapped Shadowhunters, right? Like there wasn't a ton of downtime.
There was a little. So after I finished Shadowhunters, and again, this is something I've said a little bit. It was really important for me that I took like a very different fork in my career. Because there was some options for shows that were kind of similar, or within sort of a similar world. And for me, it was really important that I strayed away from that. And I, not only character-wise, but also storytelling-wise, that I did something that was very different, not only to what I'd done recently, but what I'd done ever. So I intentionally took about 3 months off, and then spent the next 3 months actually looking for something that filled all of those sort of bullet points. And then Penny Dreadful came up, and I read about the character, and I read about the story. Not only that, but the opportunity to work with John Logan. And at the time, the only people at the casting time, the only people who had been cast was Nathan Lane, Natalie Dormer, and Danny Zavato. And you know, it's just a no-brainer at that point. You know, Nathan Lane is royalty in the acting world. Natalie Dormer, fast becoming the same, and Danny as well. But I'd actually seen some of Danny's work and seen how fantastic he was. And again, it was a real thrill to potentially be able to work with him. So that was sort of the plan. So it ended up being about 6 months off. Half was on purpose, and half was not on purpose.
Yeah, well, a lot of people are thrilled you found the project. They're going crazy over it. It's a Showtime show, and a few questions asking if they've missed it, can they stream it?
I would imagine so. Yeah, I don't know. Let's look. I think you can get it. I'm going to flick my TV on right now and see if it's on there. I'm pretty sure you can get it on the Showtime app.
Yes, I think you're right.
Yes, there it is. Yes, so you can get it on the Showtime app. I know that. And then tomorrow in the UK, it is being released on Sky, which most people won't know. But if you're from the UK, no explanation there.
And a lot of people asking if they'll have more. They want more of that show.
I do too. I know, I do too. So fingers crossed. You know, unfortunately, we don't know anything at the moment. If I did I probably wouldn't be allowed to tell you anyway because it would. We genuinely don't know anything yet. Hopefully, in the coming months, we'll find out something, something positive. But and I'm holding my breath as much as everyone else.
All right, we're sending good vibes your way about that. Come on, it's gonna happen. And Dom, I'm always so impressed. You just immerse yourself in your characters. Like you go full force. It's you can tell you're just fully committed to who you're playing, especially in a show like this right now. So for you, what do you like or enjoy exploring about getting to play these different types of characters?
I think it's sort of like my answer is sort of in the question. I think one of the reasons that I became an actor and why I enjoy doing this is because I do have this like plethora of different people to explore and to delve into, and I think that's what I find so interesting. But then sort of conversely on the other side of that, like Jace, I really tried to throw myself into as much as possible. Kurt, a little less so, because there are some things that he believes that I don't believe without giving away his sort of profession in the show, but I obviously don't feel that way. So that, you know, there are times where you do have to align yourself with, you know, this is what he's doing for this reason, and there's a part of you that has to kind of almost empathize with that and feel it. Otherwise it's tricky because you're just kind of saying words and there's no like emotion or passion behind them.
Right.
But then very, very important that you take yourself out of that sensation. And I guess the same could be said for some of the darker stuff that Jace did throughout Shadowhunters. You know, he did some pretty evil stuff throughout the show when he was possessed and so on and so forth. And it's very important to take yourself away from that stuff because it is emotionally quite I guess it's quite hard on your soul. Maybe it's quite harrowing to go through that sort of stuff and actually be the perpetrator of that sort of stuff, especially, you know, especially in Penny Dreadful, the murder and killing, and then the lack of emotion connected to those killing, like it's just sort of another day of doing anything. That's really hard work and quite hard to detach yourself from. But I'm very lucky that I have the dog and the cat here, and I can come home, cuddle them, and play with them. Everything's sort of back to normal and happy and smiley.
That's the best kind of way to unwind, right? Animal therapy.
That's right.
I love that. And before I let you go, I'm going to get in two more quick fan questions. One being, and I've seen this pop up like crazy, Taylor Swift. How was it working with her?
So Taylor is the most incredible woman. She has built an empire on like songbird level music, but also, you know, you don't kind of get to that level without a scratch on you media wise, without actually being a really nice person. And she really is. This came about because we'd met through my ex, like very briefly at Disney once. And then out of the blue, she texted me and was like, hey, would you ever think about being in a music video? And I was like, maybe. Like, I just finished a film, so I wasn't working, but I was a bit like, yeah, you know, it would depend who it's for. And she said, oh, it'd be for me. And I went, yeah, okay, I'll do it. But she was the most supportive. Like, I was nervous. Taylor Swift, I was nervous. And she was really supportive and friendly. She knew the crew's name. She was a real, which it sounds like such a silly thing, but it's not something that happens all the time, you know? And it is a really important thing. And she was such a light to be around. And I imagine still is. We haven't spoken in a while, but it was just such an amazing experience. She's such an inspirationally amazing young woman that I can only wish her the best and thank her for setting my career in the right direction.
Yeah, and it was a great video. So there you go.
I did a lot of that. So Kyle Newman was the director, and the concept of like mirrors and reflections and projection and stuff like that was not only sort of his brainchild, but he actually did it all. Like, it was all, the only thing that was green screen was the mirror in front of our faces that had each other's faces in them. But everything else, the projection, all of that, that was all physically done on set. It was absolutely incredible.
That's so cool. That's amazing. And the last fan question, a lot of people were wondering with Kat, is it true you helped, you know, cast her in the show, and are you guys still close?
We're still close, yeah. I didn't help get her cast in the show at all. No, it had nothing to do with me. She came in and did her audition, and the producers and the team liked it. It had nothing. We don't have any input. You know, at that point, I was just trying to do a good job in every audition, so I didn't like, realize actually he sucked. We should hire a new Jace as well. I was just trying to be fired at that point. But no, did it all on her own. It had absolutely nothing to do with me.
Nice, nice. Yeah, that question came up a bit, so happy you cleared that up. And my last question for you is, you know, you are a voice of hope for so many. I don't know if you've been able to see it, but a lot of people in the comments have been saying today how much your messages really have helped them during different points of their lives. Right. And I think that, you know, we live in this culture now that I like to call the comparison world, and everyone's constantly comparing themselves to what they see on social media or a highlight reel or the person who's doing X, Y, and Z and they're not. And I think it's gotten worse and worse. Like I hear people in their young 20s complaining about not achieving their wildest dreams. And you know, I try to tell them, take a minute, you'll get there. So for you, for all your fans watching, what advice do you have for them about coming into their own, both personally and professionally?
Yeah, tough, isn't it? Because, you know, even I do that. I do that where I look at, like, the actors my age who are achieving so much more than me, the Nick Holt's of the world. There is always a part of you in the back of your mind that thinks, why aren't I doing that? Why aren't I in that? But then, and Alberto told me this when we were talking about this one day. He said, you know, you sort of forget that there are people who were in my position maybe 10 years ago who are now potentially looking at me like that, which is really amazing. And it's just the different people in the different stages are a testament to exactly what you were saying, that it's your journey and you can still look up to the top of the mountain, but you're the one who has to walk your way up there. You know, you find what it is that you want, you find, and you can have your goals, you can be aspiring of whoever it is, if it is someone, but you absolutely cannot let that be a negative thing. It has to be in your mind a positive thing. It has to be a goal, and it is an achievable goal. You know, people like you and I are a testament to that. We found something that we enjoyed doing, and we made it happen. And you know, I think that's the really important thing. And it's again something that comes up. A question I get asked a lot is how do you deal with the rejection of auditions and this, that, and the other? And you got to remember that you've still got your goal there, and it's just another little hurdle that you've got to hop over because the finish line is there and it is within reach. And you should see everything around you not as negative things, but as positive things, little like challenges, the next step up the mountain. And I think that's the best way to look at it, and it's how I try to look at it. Because you're right, you know, otherwise the way the world is right now, it could absolutely eat you alive. And I think if you let things overwhelm you in that way, then that's exactly what they'll do. You'll drown in your own thoughts of negativity. So look at them as a positive thing. Look at them as a good challenge. And when you beat it, not only have you not actually step forward, goal.
100%. I could not agree with you more. That's advice we all needed to hear. That's the perfect send-off for today. Dom, I think you are such a kick-ass person. I love everything you stand for. You are beyond talented, and it was such a pleasure having you on the show.
Tommy, it was an absolute pleasure to virtually meet you. Hopefully one day we'll meet in person. We can do one of these again in person. That would be lovely. But yeah, thank you for taking the time and listening to my ramblings.
It was perfect. Thank you so much. Everyone is so excited you joined today. Stay safe, stay healthy, and until we meet again.
Until we meet again, my friend. Bye-bye.
All right, take care.